What's up, everyone? Today is a special day. This is the episode number 1 of the People Who Suspend podcast. And today I'm going to show you the video that I recorded a few days ago with Jason Brott. Jason is a really unique guy. He's got, a unique story and definitely someone who I wanted to have in the film, but we kind of met at the end of filming and there wasn't a good place for that interview. I didn't want to just cut it down into nothing, just to, have him flash on the screen for a minute. So this is more of a long form interview. We've got about 30 minutes and I hope you enjoy it. What's your name? Where are you from?
Jason Anthony Brott from Baltimore, Maryland.
So, Jason and I met, what was it, like 4 years ago or something?
About that time.
Yeah. At Mecca, maybe?
Yes,
yeah.
Mecca.
But we see each other at like the same events. But while making the film, The People Who Suspend, Jason and I, we didn't cross paths at an efficient point. But I've always thought he was a really interesting guy who had a lot of good things to say, and I was just kind of waiting for the right platform. So with the release of my film, The People Who Suspend, I am doing this podcast where I'm going to be sharing all of a lot of the follow-ups, with the people who were actually in the film, and then catching up with the people who didn't get a chance, or maybe their interview is just there wasn't the right place for it in the film. You don't want to just stick something because you filmed it. If it's in the right place for it, don't show it.
Exactly.
It definitely with stories as personal as I received. You gotta treat them with care,
Yes.
Anyway, you definitely have a story that I didn't want to just plug in somewhere, I wanted to actually give you a chance to properly discuss everything. So, why don't you tell everyone how you got into suspension, how you tried this, and, what it's done for you?
It was like I was about 17 or 18. Started a tattoo apprenticeship at a shop, and I want to say it was in like the mid 2000s, so maybe 2005 or 2006. It was a couple years after I graduated, and because of being in the tattoo shop and trying to gain more knowledge and being kind of outcast and strange, I was always on like different social media things, and I happened to stumble across BME, and that's when BME was like really starting to get off the ground. Did a little short interview with Shannon, and then throughout the site you see like pictures of people's modifications, and there was like people hanging from hooks, and I knew from the indie, Occupy and all that stuff, and how people would suspend, and it just started getting more and more in the tattoo and piercing world. More people that either were tattoo artists or piercers were trying this. So a lot of the piercers at the shop were going to the BME cookouts, and kind of got me intrigued into it more. And I was getting a lot of tattoos at the time because being born with chronic health issues, you can't exactly control whether you're in the hospital or not, or you're sick. I mean, you have some control over it. So at that time, I was trying to find some type of control in my life where I could control what kind of piercings I got, when I got them, what kind of tattoos I got, when I got them. And then I started to do sideshow, and I didn't want to just be this person that stands on stage and people just stare at. The Wolfman does that. I didn't want to just be a novelty act. So I started to research. I already kind of knew about the human anatomy because of hospitalizations and doctors and everything like that. So I started to research more, watching more videos of performers, and then stumbled across a group of people in New York. Uh, they're called Disgraceland, and Spliff at the time was like the main guy, and they were just starting out, and we talked about it, and I always thought it was something I wanted to try, just not to push myself or anything like that. It's just I've always been someone that likes extreme sports. Like I was a skateboarder. Anything that looked extreme to me or was out of the ordinary, it always got my attention. So years passed and we talked and we always talked about it and I always wanted to do it with him and his crew. Never got the chance because unfortunately he passed away before I did. And but Alan Faulkner out of Texas in 2009 is when December, I forget the day, but 2009 in December in his garage is when I took my very first hooks. And it was a form of therapy and release for me. Um, I don't like heights. Like I'll suspend, but I hate heights. I hate going up high. I hate swinging, but I'll spin around in circles and thrash around, and it was a form of release and control that I didn't have anywhere else in my life. Um, you know, wake up one. You could wake up, you're sick, you go to the doctors. I'm on dialysis. I've been on dialysis for 5 years now, and that was the one thing besides performing is like kept my head focused, and I could just get some type of release and all the energy and just being scared all the time out. So it I quickly fell in love with it. Um, but I didn't want to just be someone that's suspended. I wanted to be able to give back to other people and help other people get that feeling that I get, whether it be suspending or piercing or rigging or coaching or helping someone get off the ground. I want to give back and I want to help people, and I also want to be a practitioner. And whether it be normal society or whether it be our group that of society that we're in, there's always going to be people that are going to say no, you can't do that. So my life, I've always had to push and show people that just because I don't have the arms or I'm not 5 foot or whatever doesn't mean I can't do everything everyone else can, just with a little bit of tweaks and modifications here and there. So I worked with Hillary from Core, Steve Joyner, um, several people, Pervert from Disgraceland, Wasteland, and they all helped me learn how to like pierce, rig, and do it in a safe manner. That way it was safe for me and safe for the suspendee. So I kept at it for years and years. And, I mean, over 3 years, I was going to Mecca's. That's where we met, and was running around helping different people suspend. Like I wasn't just at one point, and I like to be social, but I don't like being social in big groups like clubs or bar atmospheres. It makes me very um, I get social anxiety, and so being at like these meccas or these conventions or these little outings with uh, like people like you and like Dan Marshall and Russ Fox, uh, you know, people didn't really judge me, and people actually had an open mind to try to get to know me and, you know, wanted to see me succeed. So it's been a little corner in my world that I've actually succeeded in and helped a lot of people and made a lot of friends and that I call family or are very close and dear to me.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, like, pretty much most all of my closest friends are involved in suspension somehow. It's like there's just really so few of us out there that it's like, I mean, do you want friends who are into this? It's like, if so, we're kind of all gonna know the same people. I
Yeah,
mean, unless you like are specifically trying to remain separate, you're gonna eventually run into everyone. You know.
yeah. I think we all have similar things that draw us together, and that's why we're friends. And this is and why we do the things that we do. And I've tried to stay friends with people from high school, and I've always I was always called a freak, even way before doing sideshow or doing suspension. So I do tend to wear that name as a badge, but to some people, it's a harmful word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's different. You know, I mean, that's why I said in that monologue at the end of Fakir's interview, it's like it's a very different word for some people. For some people, it's the rejection of arbitrary societal norms, and for some people, you're labeling someone as defective. And kind of with suspension, I don't know. It may be like seen as like you're breaking the rules, but that's kind of the point of suspension is you're doing what shouldn't be possible. You know, you're kind of breaking all the rules with as far as obeying your survival instincts and
Yeah,
stuff.
doing what you want with your own body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one, like, for me, for suspension and doing this, I was always, like, everywhere I always go, oh, look, it's the short guy or it's the handicapped guy. And those have stigmas, and they put a lot on someone's mental status and inside and with suspension or being in the body modification world. I'm not It's not, oh, hey, it's hey, there's Jason or there's Penguin, um because of sideshow. And I was never looked at as the short guy or the disabled dude or the handicapped guy. Like, just another dude hanging out in a room with a group of people that had the same intentions and just want to be accepted for something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice. They found that acceptance with the suspension group.
You can't get much more like accepting as far as like we all know what it's like to be called freak.
Yeah.
To be called a freak in a derogatory way.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Like anyone with body art, especially if you have like facial piercings or tattoos, you know, you can reach a point very very quickly to where it's inevitable. Like that you're going to, depending on where you're at. I mean, that's part of the reason why we hang out with so many suspension people is we don't have to feel weird in any way. Like we don't have to feel out of place because it's like we have this whole community of people who are weird also. You know.
Yeah, it's like if we're having a conversation and just some random weird thought, or me, or I say something just straight out of the blue, I'm not going to have 50 people that are, looking at me like, why, most times everyone's going to jump on the bandwagon and say something strange or weird themselves. So it's nice.
Yeah, but it's good. It's taking a little step back and being outside of that world, basically, for like over a year now. Um, it's been interesting. Like, just going and, my wife working on a military base. Every time I go on there, I'm like, I'm totally out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, totally.
and anytime I show my military ID for something, they all give me a look like, what branch of the military are you with? And of course, it just says I'm a dependent. I'm married to someone in the military. But really, the question they're asking is, what branch of the military allows Mohawks? And
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where you just get tired of answering the same questions.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, like, anyway, I don't know. There's a community. There's a community where, for really anyone, and just even suspension, it's like we live in a big enough world and we're connected enough that you can find people who are weird in the same way that you're weird. And,
I've met welders. I've met, successful opera singers that are into suspension. So it just goes to show you that just because you are labeled and you do a certain job, that job that you do doesn't define you in your house or closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
What you do on your own time and what you do to your body is your choice, no one else's.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, unfortunately, we live in a world where it doesn't affect people, and people have lost jobs or had to quit jobs because of doing suspension. But I feel like if someone has the right to be a carpenter or opera singer and they want to, practice Catholic or whatever type of religion, it's the same thing. If you want to practice suspension, who are other people to judge you for that?
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks, but hopefully it'll get better. But you know what they say, it always gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that we're at a point where I feel like it's mostly where it's going to get. I feel like it's we're exposed enough now. I mean, the reason why I made the film The People Who Suspend is because we're out there. Like there's already so many photos and videos of suspension out there that I'm like, I just want to tell my story. Like I want to tell my story and I want to tell people what I'm seeing around me.
Yeah.
Because some people they'll say whatever you want them to say if you're pointing the camera at them and giving them a little bit of validation.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they represent me or represent you or anyone else. But people make generalizations based on these, encounters or these little pieces of information. These people who are like, oh, you'll put me on TV if I hang from hooks. I may not know what I'm doing, but I'll give it a try. I want to be on TV. And then, of course, they fall on their heads right away. And it's like, now everyone's like, oh, well, suspension is kind of for psychopaths.
Yeah,
apparently.
It's not the safest thing, and you gotta have some screws loose to do it. But I don't know. I mean, I find that like most of us have pretty good heads on our shoulders, and it just allows us to think a little bit more clearly than most people.
Definitely, suspension people are substantially more woke than the average person in society, for sure.
Yes.
But I mean, you just look at it, and probably 20% of people who do suspensions are vegan. Like, and not even just like a little vegan, like like militant vegan.
Yeah.
And, and they kind of are in like just all kinds of ways. I mean, total, this is a hippie practice.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be realistic. We're kind of, modern day hippies.
Modern day hippies, and a good majority, I feel, of us that do this, I feel like we have a good majority of us have like addictive personalities, and we do a lot of the things that we do to the extremists, to 110%, or even more than 110%.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who are in suspension, from what I've seen, have gone through really extreme experiences in their life that have shifted the line of where something becomes extreme.
Yes.
And whenever whenever you move that line significantly, suspension starts seeming a lot less intense. I mean, it starts becoming something manageable. But if you've grown up like not exposed to even body piercing or people with tattoos, you might look at this and you're like, this is the most terrifying concept you've ever seen. So there's a spectrum. It's a spectrum based on your exposure. If you've lived in a bubble and you've been told that basically everyone who doesn't look like you or think like you is evil, you're probably going to have some negative reactions to seeing people hanging from hooks.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, to get on that spectrum, to talk about that spectrum, like, there was a time I was helping out with the suspension, and this person's like, oh, I like, they were like, kind of in and out of consciousness, and then when they got down, like, I had this out-of-body experience, and I was talking to one of the guys, and I was like, think about it, I've never had an out-of-body experience ever suspending. And I was like, why do you think that? It's because I've been through some really tremendous things in my life. I've had 2 organs put in me because of kidney transplants. With my condition, I was born with kidneys that were deformed and didn't work properly. So I had those surgeries. I had my legs. I was born sitting in Indian style, so break my legs and fuse my joints, and when you're a baby you don't remember like certain pains, and like when I was a baby or young kid, I don't remember these pains that I went through. Mm-hmm. But they were so traumatic, and it was like taking hooks like from the back of my neck or a single hook in my stomach, like for someone that would be really hard for them, but to me, like it was hard for me, but I was able to do it after a couple tries. But I've never had that out of body experience, but I have enjoyed it, and I do enjoy the adrenaline and the thrill that I get from it. Mm-hmm. So I do. That's the one side I really do get from it and miss having.
When was the last time you suspended?
Probably 3 or 4 years ago at Mecca.
Is it the one I was at?
Yeah, when I bought the hook from you. And I did the ones on my side and the hook in my stomach. And I could barely get off the ground that time.
I have it on video. I'll throw up a little clip.
Thanks. And that's when I went to the hospital, because trying to get me to stop bleeding. My blood was really oily, and it was my levels were low, and they had to give me blood at the hospital. But that's why I don't do it anymore. Like, when I was younger, I was like you said, we kind of, that after you do it once, like that danger, just kind of dissipates and you don't really think about it. And I got really lucky being able to do it for all those years. But as I got sick again and my health isn't the greatest, doing it those couple times, I got lucky I didn't bleed out or get an infection. So, and that's when I kind of stepped away from it. And I haven't really helped or been around the suspension since. But I think this September is Mecca. And I'm going to be at that, helping some people and talking with a buddy of mine. Give some insights on some stuff. But I do miss it, and I still want to be around it. Just because I can't do it doesn't mean I can't be around it or can't be around the people that care about me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think the last time I suspended was at that Mecca that I got those hooks from you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news is it isn't like we're a club that kicks you out.
Right?
If you don't suspend.
Oh, you haven't suspended. You're out of the club.
You haven't paid your union dues.
No, I paid my dues.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like kind of all of these people who are like, people who I do say are my closest friends. I may not have seen them for years, like in person.
Yeah.
But they're still like my best friends. Like, whenever you're in a community like this that's so spread out throughout the world, it's like you just sort of accept that some of your best friends you don't see very often. But that doesn't mean you're not going to see each other and be just as close as you were.
Oh, you're going to pick right back up where you left off last time. Like, go to a convention or go to these things.
Hopefully that didn't ruin the video too bad, but we had some battery change and then all sorts of little issues with the camera. But we're back.
We're back.
What were we saying?
Talking about how it's like we've made a community, and then some of these people, even though we don't talk to every day or see all the time.
I'm getting ready to see him though.
Yeah,
like getting ready to hit the road. It'll be good because a lot of these people who, I trusted them with my life making the film. I haven't seen since making the film. It's like that time we had was just sort of, it's like a break from reality,
Yes.
Like definitely, it was like I was just like going on a ride through a foreign world. I mean, that's literally what I was doing, but it was really what I was doing. Like that world was as foreign as you could get. Like everywhere I was going was just a different adventure, and I'm glad that everyone's gonna finally hear it. I mean, you saw just the little first part of it.
I enjoyed it. I think it's very well put together. I think that people that do suspend are gonna enjoy it. People that have not suspended are going to learn a little bit more, maybe be more open-minded to it, possibly get more people that want to try it and understand that it is okay to do these things and do these things to your body, but under the right circumstances and in the right places and with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's honestly, I expect to hear from a lot more people who want to suspend after this that probably weren't realizing that they would be that interested in it. Like, because I've talked to people who are like, as soon as they hear it, like, and I don't look for conversations about suspension.
Oh yeah, no.
I've talked about this plenty.
Yeah.
I'm not searching for people to
recruit or anything like
not
that.
even slightly. But if the people who do have that interest, or they realize that they're interested. Like I've had people who, like, the longer the conversation went on, they're like, well, I mean, I would never do this, but if I were to do it, like, what style of suspension would I need to do? And they're asking him like this, and I'm like, you're working this through in your head
already. They've already thought about it, and like more times than not, that usually when someone says if I were that they've already made the decision that they want to try this. People ask me what I do for a living or what I've done, and I tell them everything, like sideshow, tattoo artist, and I'm a suspension practitioner, and tell them they're like, what? And I explain to them a little bit about it, and like nurses, doctors, people that you would not even think that would want to do this, but they're like, wow, that sounds scary, but interesting, and I might want to try it. So usually if they say if or might, they've already made it up in their mind that they're going to want to do this one day.
Yeah, well, they're definitely more receptive than others at that point. But, I mean, I tell people who are thinking about it, who ask me, when is it the right time to try suspension? And I just tell them when that's all you can think about.
Yeah.
When
there's no right time. It's just when it happens.
Whenever you are just like, that's all that's on your mind is, what is it like to suspend? That's when it's time to suspend. That's when, it's time to explore that experience. And, I hope to help a lot of people through that experience over the next year or 2 years. I think my life is going to get probably a lot busier towards the end of touring around for the film, but I hope I can suspend a lot more people. I don't know if you have more suspensions in your future. I guess not for the immediate future.
Not for the immediate future, not for the time being, but I do have the gear. I do have the ropes and the pulleys and the rigs, and I do want to put some people up and get not the itch to go up per se, but to share this once in a lifetime experience with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully down the road we'll see.
I hear you, man. Well, I definitely always enjoy having you around for the suspensions. It's just good to have like good people. Certain people, they're kind of there for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
They're like tourists.
Yeah.
And if you have too many tourists, like, kind of gawking at an experience that someone's having, it really takes away from the experience.
Takes away from the experience and the novelty and how special it is.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, you're one of the people who's always in the right headspace to have around for me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Try to be in the right headspace most of the time.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But I mean, you and I have been on some adventures together, so it's just like whenever I know somebody has gone through something, it's like I feel like I can trust you more.
I totally agree with that.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be overwhelmed by, like, an experience to the point where you're a distraction because you're being overwhelmed by it.
No, that's typically work.
That's typically the people who are hard to have at a suspension. The people who are either they themselves are getting, like, lightheaded or uncomfortable with it, or they're just making noises, or they can't watch passively. Like they're having to influence the experience. And anyway, if you are going to have somebody who's involved in a suspension, just be a positive involvement, and definitely don't impose upon the experience.
Definitely.
At a minimum. But anyway, man, I know I've got more suspensions in me in the future. Hopefully you can be there for one of them. Maybe
I would love that. That would be great.
And throw one of my hooks, maybe.
That would be awesome.
You have anything else you want to share with everyone?
Not really. I mean, kind of spoke on everything. We touched on the film a little bit. My story a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Anything you want to touch on?
Man, I got dozens of
dozens of stuff.
Well, dozens of these podcasts on the way. It's like I'll be visiting people all along the way. I'm sure I'll figure this out.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, for those of you who sat here and actually watched this initial thing where it's in his bedroom, we have terrible lighting in here. Don't have any gear with me, but anyway, hopefully the production value came out kind of okay with this. Anyway, hopefully at least bearable. It will be worked out soon, and many more of these to come. Hopefully we'll get you sitting down with me again. I'd like to start like bigger ones rather than just two people. Like if we get a bunch of like-minded people in a room, just mic everyone up and get like a table of like 4 people and just rant on even whenever we start by ranting on suspension, I'm sure our brains are gonna go in very different places.
Oh yes, very, very different places. But that's always the best part about it.
Yeah. Anyway, Jason is definitely getting a rough roll of the dice health-wise, and he is currently trying to get a new kidney.
Yes, I am trying to get a new kidney. Have a GoFundMe. I'll send you the links and stuff to that.
I'll add links in the description to this. But anything helps. I mean, definitely what goes around comes around,
or if you want to hit Lucas up, or hit me up on my page to see if you want to be a match or help out in any way you can. Mm-hmm. Anything is appreciated.
Yeah, nothing like saving a life on your resume.
Right? I saved a life.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, man. Well, it's good talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I'm sorry I haven't been over here.
You're busy.
Yeah, life is crazy, but I'm about to be a lot closer. So
That's good. Yeah. You get to do stuff.
All right, guys. See you on the next one.
Later.
All right, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that little video with Jason. If you want to help him, you can go to the link in the description for his GoFundMe. Or if you want to save a life, you could see if you can become a match to donate a kidney. He's a really great guy, and it's hard seeing someone get such a rough roll of the dice. But yeah. Anyway, Jason's a good friend, and I hope he can recover from this. So if you want to help with that, or you just want to maybe throw him a few bucks, make his life a little bit more comfortable, please follow that link, show some love. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please feel free to like and subscribe and share this with anyone wherever you think someone might benefit from seeing it. Thanks. See you guys on the next one.